welcome to From Moscow with Love, brought to you by the Women's Performance Community of Jerusalem and OU Israel. We are so happy to have with us today Natalia Mikunis and Emilia Littman. Emilia is Natalia's daughter, and they are sitting in Moscow right now. So thank you to Natalia and Emilia.
Welcome. You can see by the amount of people that are here tonight, this is an exciting night for us. Here we are Zooming with our friends in Moscow. Who would have believed it? And thank you all for being here. Now, why are we here? Why did we come to Moscow? About 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago already? A year and a half ago, we completed the run of Hidden, the Secret Jews of Spain. That was the second show of the Women's Performance Community of Jerusalem, and we began immediately a new show, Whisper Freedom, the story of the struggle for Soviet Jews in the 1970s. Avital and I, and also Bati, actually stopped in Moscow in September of 2017. And we got there at the 850th anniversary of Moscow. The joint was jumping. It was unbelievable. There were tens of thousands of people in the street. There were celebrations everywhere. There were parties everywhere. There was music everywhere. It was just the most exciting day we probably have ever had. We had no idea at that time that we would be writing a show about Soviet Jewry. And tonight, you're even going to get a little bit of our music. We were supposed to have started our auditions and our rehearsals already for the new show, which we were going to open in November on stage in Jerusalem. But as we know, the corona came, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to have our auditions. We haven't been able to go into rehearsals. We haven't even been able to go into the sound studio to record our music. But tonight, you'll get a little bit of an acapella into some of the songs that are going to go into Whisper Freedom. To give you a real insight about, number one, about Soviet Jewry history, which Amelia is an expert on because she works in the Moscow Museum, and about life in the Soviet Union, or in the former Soviet Union, from during the time, the end of Stalin and today.
Natalia, I wouldn't say this normally, but you sent me this information, so I will let everybody know. Natalia was born in 1953 in Moscow. She's a teacher of English and English language literature, and she's been working for 45 years in one of the best Moscow secondary schools, and is an honored teacher of Russia. And Natalia, we are honored to have you join us tonight.
First of all, let me greet you and thank all the organizers of this unusual event. When I heard that you would like to hear something about the life of Moscow Jews today and in the past, I was motivated to take part in this meeting. The more we know about the past and about the present, the more we know about each other's life all over the world, the happier our children will be, and probably even we will have time for it. So let's start with the following idea. You know a lot, and you know a lot about Jewish life everywhere. I can tell you that here in Russia, and in Moscow particularly, there are lots of Jewish people, and it's a great diversity, even within one family. I mean, maybe not the nucleus family, but the extended family. And among my friends, there are lots of different Jewish people. All of us absolutely with the identity of a Jew, you see, but we're all different. And first of all, I'd like to tell you that not all of people of Jewish ethnicity who even had the sense of Jewish identity became refuseniks. And let us begin with our family and like my friends, my schoolmates, for example. Among them, there are refuseniks. There are people that just emigrated to Israel in the days of like when Israel was only starting its existence, and already after perestroika in 1980s and 90s. And there are lots of people, Jewish people, that remain here and live here, and we feel absolutely free. I'm proud of being a Jew, a Jewish woman in Russia, in Moscow. And let's go back to some days of the past, because you announced it as uh, with Stalin and after Stalin. Definitely, we all know that during the period of Stalinism, there was a lot of anti-Semitism. But I have to say that even during those days, people managed to feel themselves Jewish and even to be believers. So very often they had to keep up to tradition and all the rituals secretly, even to hide from their families sometimes, because they wanted them to be safe, to stay safe. But nevertheless, they managed to do it. So let us get to the period of the Second World War. My father, at the age of 18, went to fight. And my husband's father, my father-in-law, did the same, age of 18. His sisters, his two sisters, so actually two girls of like 19 and 20 from a Jewish family, went to the front, and they went through all the war. They were wounded, they were heroes and heroines, they were awarded orders and medals, they survived happily. And can you imagine a family letting the young to the front to fight against Nazis? At that moment, they did not know anything about Holocaust. This term came to life much later, but the danger for the young Jewish people fighting in the front was actually double. Can you imagine it? Okay? And after the war, young people finished their education, got back to their families. By the way, even earlier than that, you know Stalin repressions. For example, my grandpa, one of my grandpas, I have two, so one of the grandfathers, uh, went through all the war and survived, and later he worked as a teacher, like 50 years running. And my second grandpa uh, was shot under repressions. It was in 1938, having left his wife and children actually penniless and helpless and without any protection. And what happened to him in 1938 came to light, and we learned the truth only 50 years later, when all the archives were open because of the perestroika, due to the perestroika. So can you imagine that within one family there was such a diversity of faiths, Jewish people's faiths? Okay, so after the war, my parents, my husband's parents, got an education and started working. And it was still 1950s. Do you remember that Stalin died early March 1953? And in the last years of his life, it was a heavy and tragic anti-Semitic campaign. You remember the Night of the Murdered Poets, probably. Remember? For example, we keep books, little books, right? And these are the books that I used to read when I was a child, and my daughter the same. And these are books written by the poets murdered on the 12th of August 1952. So danger was everywhere for the Jewish families. And then even under such circumstances, so many of those that were believers managed to keep up to tradition. For example, my husband's grandpa, he was a rabbi, in fact, though he could not officially declare it, but he did his best. And inside the little family, they observed everything, all the traditions. And I have got here a, I think you can see it. It's a handmade calendar. When I was just married, it was 1979. Well, he made this calendar, yeah, in his handwriting for me to understand the main situation, because nothing was official and nothing could be bought or printed, whatever, of all the Jewish documents, traditions, ways of life, holidays, and whatnot. And this is the only thing I have got from that man. This is an old brass candlestick, which I keep. Now I'm not using it, only like it's inside the cupboard. Why did he try to hide from the family, from his children and grandchildren? Just because it was dangerous for them, and he was trying to protect them. Okay, and just in the end of 40s and beginning of 1950s, there was a heavy anti-Semitic campaign, which is entitled "The Case of Doctors," the case of physicians. A lot of doctors in Moscow, and not only in Moscow, were arrested, fell under repressions. I am a daughter of a doctor. My mom was a doctor, and my grandma was a doctor. And in my family, there were lots of doctors. And that small family, actually, in 1953, were living with their small suitcases and bags prepared in case of arrest. And it was really dangerous to live. Nevertheless, I was born on the 4th of April. And on that day, that anti-Semitic campaign, 1 month after Stalin's death, was canceled. It was over. It was finished. And in my family, it's it's a story, but it's a legend, but it is true that the first note my father sent to the maternity hospital where my mom was with me as a baby was congratulations on the end of that campaign, and only the second on the birth of a daughter. Can you imagine it? So we have been living under it, and nevertheless, my parents, my grandparents worked here in this country and did everything they could for it. They were actually working as doctors, engineers, teachers, and doing their best just to keep the families and to develop this inner sense of Jewish identity in their children. Since my childhood, I have known what's to be a Jew, and I've been proud of that. Well, time went on, perestroika came, and things changed. Now everything is opened. Everything is available. All the information, first of all. You know, the people that have information have got everything. As for information, we have well, we have access to libraries, to books, we have access to internet sites, we have access to archives, and we can learn a lot. And still, even now, some people prefer to live in Israel, some people prefer to live in some other countries, and others stay here and do what they can for our country, for this country. As for me, or my family, well, I can tell you that I have traveled extensively. I've been to Israel, because I've got relatives there. One of my relatives, one of my ancestors, was Shmuel Mikunis. He was member of Knesset, and it was before before the separation of the Kremlin, before 1967, and he was general secretary of Israel Communist Party. And even one of the streets in Tel Aviv is named after him, Mikunis Street. But others are everywhere. So many relatives are in Israel, some are in the United States, others are all over the world, in Europe or whatever. And a lot still are here. And it doesn't mean that we forget about our Jewishness or about our Jewish identity or about our duties or about the past. On the contrary, we do our best here to promote the idea of Jews being and being proud of being Jewish. Let us take schools. Like in Moscow, there are about 1,500 secondary schools. Can you imagine it? Each of such schools having about 1,000 at average of students. Can you imagine this huge crowd? And of course, all of them are different, and all the social circles, walks of life are different. They have different interests, but here there are teachers that teach hate to xenophobia, hate to anti-Semitism. They give lessons of Holocaust. They give lessons of remembrance days. We mark, for example, in my school, it's my tradition. I do it in English, but some of the, because I'm a teacher of English, but some colleagues do it in Russian, like teachers of history or social studies. We explain to the children, to the students, like high school students mainly, what is Holocaust, what is to be a Jew, what it was to be a Jew, what it meant. And the Holocaust, we have got lots of materials from all over the world. There are textbooks from the United States, Holocaust textbooks. I've got special materials from the UK, because they have got wonderful things. We use it in English, that's why we appreciate it. We have lots of other things to mark and talk about it. So it is bringing information to the students about the war, about victory, about the VE Day, about V-Day, now armistice, or for example, late in autumn in Moscow, we have a special day where we remember victims of Stalin repressions. We have got now museums here in Moscow. We have got not one museum, Jewish museum, but a few, and lots of exhibitions. 5 huge central synagogues and many more smaller ones, local ones. We have got a Jewish theater and lots of things, you know. So what I want you to remember from whatever I have been speaking about is that we are different, and we are trying here to do anything that we can to promote Jewish identity. Well, and welcome to Moscow. If you are here, we can show you things. Well, and if you are interested, I can email some materials to you, whatever, pictures or whatever.
Thank you, Natalia. Wow. If we can't visit, in person, at least we can visit virtually. Thank you so much, Natalia. We're very
Thank you.
privileged to have met you, and we especially appreciate Amelia for introducing us to you. Back in May of 2019, the Women's Performance Community of Jerusalem hosted a poetry night on the topic of freedom. And Amelia, who had heard about us on Facebook and had been following some of our activities, submitted a poem. And it was beautiful. And I remember when she was introducing herself to us, she said how poetry and art is her life, it's her breath. And it was very clear in her work, and we very much appreciated her contribution. And as she also mentioned how even she had some feedback from Avital Sharansky herself, complimenting her work. And she showed us a letter in Russian, which was fantastic. So thank you, Amelia, for joining our community then. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for introducing us to your mother. And another quick introduction about Amelia herself. As you heard, she's a private practice psychologist treating children and families. And she's worked in the Moscow Jewish Museum for 6 years now, and very active in Jewish life in Moscow. And we are honored and privileged to hear from Amelia about a slice of modern Jewish life in Moscow.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with you and to say some words. First of all, the life is divided now because the Jewish life now is something amazing. It's a new world. It's more fantastic than a cosmic, scientific, something research. It's a new Jewish life. So what important to tell that I'm proud that our family was not refusing. That's what my mother told you about. So my grandparents and my parents, they lived here, they worked, etc. That you hear from my mother. And only one grandfather, he respect religion secretly, and we knew about it many years after. So she showed you the some facts about it. So what I knew exactly that I am a Jew. So this was in passport. This was okay. What we got new, it's all these traditions and etc. etc. It was very before. It was very dangerous to go to synagogues, etc. Even if you wasn't refusing, just to go to synagogue was a problem. But what I remember from my grandfather, that we sit at kitchen and having a lechaim, small lechaim, just for Rosh Hashanah. That's all. And I know that he was trying to go to synagogue to have some matzah. It was already a big something. So now the life changes, and here in Moscow, after Perestroika, came a lot of people who learned us how to be a right Jew. I'm proud that I learned a lot of things. It's really good to know. And it happened that I worked a lot inside Jewish organizations, and finally, I come to Jewish museums. So now, why I am here? Because it's amazing educational center, historical, Jewish, technological. It's really amazing place, intellectual, where you can find lots of information, and it's a good place to be. I want to thank a lot of Jewish organizations, a lot of synagogues, a lot, without names. But I want you to come to review to Jewish Museum, because it's a huge place. It's even if it's organized by Chabad, so it's a secular place, headed by Chabad. it's like a mixture of tradition and the organization. So inside the museum, you can see the story of all Russian Jewry. Something that my mother told, something that we didn't have in our family. It's refusnik stories, old Jewish stories. I mean, they started from 19th century when the history of the Jewish people and Jewish people come to Russian Empire. So, and also you can find there some biblical stories, because the audience is very wide, and so to understand the origin of Jewish people. If people want to know more, they come to different museums and they search for information. There are also different Jewish cultural centers, different organizations for different variety of Jewish people, religious, not religious, secular, etc. Those who respect Judaism, those who don't respect Judaism. So you can find now everything you want. And it's very popular now to be a Jew in Moscow, in Russia. It's a bit, that's what I'm a little bit afraid of, this tendency, because, you know, we forget our history very, 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 very fast. And it's not a question of fashion or a question of posh. I think it's a question of to know your tradition, to respect your roots, and then you can live your life, and then you can find your road, and you can find your place under the sun. So I think that's what I wanted to tell you. Maybe I can show you some pictures. There's a old from my family, old tapes. It's a biblical text. It's a Yova, old tapes of books of Yova and Psalms, which was very rare at that time. It's a black tape. This is from the old time. This is what I mean. Some from tradition of Yiddish. It's Berry Sisters, you know. This is from old time. This was kept in my family, in a secular family, and there are some pictures of Jewish museum I just told you about, and it's something like that. You can find it on internet. There's a lot of photos. This is the most high technological museum in Russia, humanitarian museum. So, and it's really interesting. Not only this is shtetl, not only for Jewish people, but for people from all over the world. Everyone likes. This is like Sholem Aleichem. You can see an Yiddish part. This is the end of the 19th century. So it's really interesting and educational for people from all over the world. The part with Holocaust and Second World War, which is necessary here. It's not only, and it's important, it's not only from Holocaust, it's also from Second World War movie. And some stories about apartment of Soviet Jewry. So something like that. So this is what I wanted to tell you briefly. So you will have time for your questions, and I'm grateful. And I really, this is my opinion, that people who know their roots, who involved their roots, who involved in their tradition, they easily can find place under the sun and send it to their children and grandchildren. So thank you. Now it's time for questions.
Thank you, Amelia. And also, we will post on our Facebook page the link to the Jewish Museum in Moscow. I highly recommend everybody explore it. It is a beautiful, and as Amelia said, a very high-tech modern museum. If people have questions, you can send them in the chat. And in the meantime, as you heard, the context of this event is leading towards our next full-scale original musical, Whisper Freedom, written and composed by Sharon Katz and Avital Macales. We have with us here tonight as well, and our associate producer, Bati Katz Copeland, who's also here with us tonight. I'm Shifra Penkower, the director, and the four of us are the co-founders of the Women's Performance Community of Jerusalem. And we are so blessed and grateful that the work that we do with WPC allows us to meet and learn from so many fascinating and talented people. You, Amelia, and Natalia included. Welcome to the International Women's Performance Community of Jerusalem family. We have a special sneak preview of a couple of the songs that will be featured in Whisper Freedom. And Avital, I'll let you introduce them.
Thank you, Shifra. Thank you, Amelia. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you, Bati. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, the OU. This song is sung by the main character in the show, who, as Sharon said, grew up Jewish in Riga, Latvia, and decided that it's not so safe to be a Jew. She wanted to be a star in the Moscow theater, and she became a star. She became a star until one day when she auditioned to play the role of Catherine the Great. She did not get the role because the director was anti-Semitic, and she is very upset about this. So this is Leah Abramovich's song.
Let everybody know this is a cappella because due to the situation, the matzav, as you all know, we haven't been able to get to the recording studio yet, but you can just imagine, as beautiful as you'll hear it now, it will be even worlds more phenomenal live on stage. God willing, you will be able to join us. Take it away, Avital.
Okay. I grew up in Riga, being called a dirty Jew. I came to Moscow hoping to start my life anew. I went for an audition, and when they asked my name, I paused. Leah Abramovich will never get applause, and so I said I was Elena Ivanova. While life outside for other Jews kept on getting duller, the theater became my home. Its stage so full of color. On it I could make believe and put on a mask, as long as no one asks about my past. Elena will not be beaten or oppressed. Elena will finally fit in with the rest. No more second class or scorn or hate. I could change my fate and maybe also help my soul feel a little bit powerful. I became a star. It seemed I'd made the right decision, reaching heights that Leah would never have envisioned. But now I watch it slip away because of Papa's eyes. Perhaps I've slipped up, so I realize that Elena has to stay above the rest. Elena cannot rest until she's dressed as the greatest empress in a gown, on my head a crown. What a perfect role to feel a little bit powerful. Elena will be a name the world will cheer, and when I get there, I will know there's no more fear. This once be little Jew will play the queen, so go and make a scene. Stand tall, give it your all, wouldn't it be wonderful? Yes, maybe then for once you'll feel a little bit powerful.
Oh, that was gorgeous.
Bravo. You can all use your clapping reaction.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the second song I'm going to sing from the show is sung by a group of refuseniks who have been fighting to get a visa for years and have not gotten it, and have realized that the only way to be free and to get a visa is to get word out into the West. If the West knew what was going on, they could put pressure on the USSR, they could make demonstrations, they could shake up the world. So this is a group of refuseniks who heard that President Richard Nixon, 1972, was coming to Red Square, and they were going to be there, even though demonstrations were illegal and you could get arrested for 15 days or even longer. They wanted to be there to sing to President Nixon and to all the foreign reporters who were going to be there. So this is A Cry from Red Square. And I want to also mention that the style of music at the time that the Jews were singing was folk music, inspired by Peter, Paul, and Mary, guitar, you know, that kind of stuff, and Shlomo Karl Bach, who was asked to write a song for the movement. And you will know what that song is by the end of this song. It's been 25 years since the Holocaust, where millions of souls were lost, yet here in the Soviet Union, that's not enough of a cost. In our God you won't let us believe, from this country you won't let us leave. You say that we have state secrets, yet we are not so naive. You hate us because we are Jews. We want visas, but you say refused. Your curtain may hang high, but our voices will still reach the news. Give us a visa, we yell, from Red Square or inside a cell. We won't ease up on our intent till we travel to Israel. Give us a visa, we cry. You may wish for our spirits to die, but there's one thing you mustn't forget. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Avital. Let's see, it looks like some of the questions are being answered directly in the chat. Emilia, Natalia, whoever wants to take it, can you please talk more about your choice to stay, to remain, your motivation, explain what made you proud of the choice to stay, and she's thanking you. Our sisters, thank you so much for sharing.
To go or not to go is always the question with Jewish people. Always. It has been always like eternal. So we, you know, sometimes it's impossible to leave home. It's impossible to leave your nearest and dearest. The circumstances are all different, you know. The families are all different. And I don't know why we made up that decision not to go. Probably it was the responsibility that we could imagine in the future. The responsibility is everything, you know. So whether you go or whether you stay, yours is the responsibility for the family, for the children, and for the elderly. That's why, you know. So not well, not many. I mean, I myself and the members of my family of my age were not many to take care of all the kids and all the elderly of our family. Maybe it's one of the reasons. Plus, we realized very well that we were necessary here, that people wanted us here, you see? So we used to work not in business, but in such spheres where we were in great demand. People wanted us, wanted our help, or wanted our contribution. There was education, there was healthcare, there was engineering. And I can say that we all were promoted. We got lots of praise here for our work, for our contribution, both my parents and my generation as well. So, of course, we did not imagine that life would change and the situation would change, but the change was not only within the Jewish tradition and within the Jewish aspect of life. It was just absolutely different. And when it all opened in the middle of 1980s, then it was a new kind of perspective, a new kind of challenge to do something else for our people here.
Still have something you'd like to learn, you're welcome to write to us on Facebook, and we'll see what we can do. Lots of thank yous, interesting, beautiful, inspiring, chills. It was very special. I want to say, Natalia, also to see those artifacts from the past, that candlestick, something about just that candlestick was very evocative and very special.
Yes.
Yes. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very, very old, and it's brass, you know, with bits of even candles, you know, candle tears, right? What's tears here?
Yes.
That's it. Now, they had a few, of course, but this is what remained.
Wow. Thank you. The fall of the Iron Curtain things didn't immediately get so much easier for Jews.
The change was really fast. What is the reason? Why? Are you asking why it is so? Because life has changed in general. It's a big world now. It's one world, in fact, you know.
But also, I can answer that Soviet Union was not religious. It was against all the religions, not only about Judaism. It also was against Christianity, Muslim, everything. So when the Soviet Union it's like was not more on the earth, so Russian Federation, now we are free in religion. You can respect any religion you want. So that's why it's also for the Jewish people.
Where's your family from originally before Moscow?
Yeah, I can answer. Can I? Right? So both my husband's family and mine, are from a small place in Ukraine. And when I was probably 3 years old, right? My parents moved to Moscow. They found a job here, and we all moved. And the same as my husband's family. So originally, our grandparents are from Ukraine, and we have old pictures with like 9 or 10 children, and all the generations of Jewish believers, all traditionally dressed up, and we have very old pictures. But I feel a Muscovite, I think. But my daughter was born in Moscow.
It's at 9 p.m., so I think we have to wrap it up. But thank you, Emilia and Natalia, very much for joining us tonight, for preparing, for showing us your pictures, your passion. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again. You are now all officially part of the WPC family, wherever you are, whether you're in pajamas or not. You know.
Thank you.
Shifra, I just want to add one thing. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much to Natalia and Emilia. It's was amazing to meet you and be with you, and to be zooming to Moscow is like unbelievable. That was a really fantastic evening. Thank you. And I just want to say that that we're really looking forward, Amir Hashem, to speaking to you more. And we thank you so much for always being willing to answer our questions. And we also look forward to the day that we can actually go on stage with Whisper Freedom, and maybe you'll fly in. That would be great. And until then, we want to say that our last show, Hidden, The Secret Jews of Spain, is actually coming out soon on video. And Amir Hashem, when that happens, we're going to tell everybody you can rent it online, and you can see Hidden right from your own computer screen at home. So keep an ear out for that. And Amir Hashem, we look forward to speaking to everybody and to seeing everybody again. We'll Zoom with you again. Now that we've Zoomed to Moscow, the sky is the limit. Thank you so much. We love you, Moscovians. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank
Thank you,
so
OU.
much.
Bravo,
Thank you,
Avital.
OU. Thank you,
That's wonderful.
WPC. We love you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you, Avital. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Laila Tov.